Okay guys, we're super excited to come at you and tell you about this new opportunity with Anchor. Okay, so now we can actually have you guys support us monthly. So you can give $1.99 or $4.99 or $9.99 to support us on Anchor. Okay, and what that will pay for is our editor. We just got a guy who's going to be editing our podcast, so I don't have to do it anymore, and it should be on time from here on out. And we hope to do this every week, and I don't know if we're gonna ever take a season off or anything like that.
We don't plan to take any time off right now, but you never know what happens.
Okay.
Life happens.
Okay. But we want to be able to give you this quality content of us talking and communicating this way. We're finding that it really benefits people, and we love the fact that we're helping out marriages and other families and stuff like that. So if you want to support us, you can do that. And here are the directions. All you have to do is go to your web browser. Just go to anchor.fm/HMAY. It is yet to be launched on the Anchor app by itself, but you have to do it through a web browser. And this is also only for the US. So only people in the US, you can pay through Apple Pay or Google Pay.
Every time we get a new supporter, we'll make sure to shout you guys on the latest podcast. We really appreciate any amount that you can give. We are looking forward to making this podcast something beautiful and great. We're actually hoping to birth other things from this podcast that one day, hopefully in the more near future than later, you guys will get to be a part of. So whatever dollar amount you guys can contribute, feel free to do it. And if you can't contribute right now, we totally understand that. And if you can right now, but you can't in the future, we totally understand that too. So do what you gotta do. Make the decision you gotta make. Just know that we love you and we're gonna be here no matter what.
Yeah, and also if you already support us on Patreon, we appreciate your support so much.
Can you say that over again?
And if you already support us on Patreon, we appreciate your support so...
OMG. If you already support us on Patreon, we appreciate your support so much.
Thank you. And you don't have to support us here. And
Yeah. Hello, my name is Mrs. Melanin.
And I'm Beleaf Mel.
And we're here with episode 7 of How Married Are You?
This is a little crooked. Feel? Sorry guys, you guys are crooked. You need help. Get your life together. And then I feel like maybe you should move over here.
Scoot over?
Yeah, you should move closer to me. Hopefully we're still in focus.
It's a little hot, but...
Yeah. So we don't have our toddler tears mugs because we are, it's too hot and we're in the garage and yeah, we got 30 minutes. So...
Multitasking. Okay, anyways, did we already say it today? We did. You're going to just turn that around. Today's our anniversary and my mother-in-law is in town. So she took the boys to the park, and Anaya is sleeping, and we are here.
Yeah, we're just knocking out this little bit of time that we have, and a much needed podcast. So we're just gonna pick up from last week where we left off. We got into a little bit of a tiff, and I'm
curious if anyone thought that was a tiff. I mean, we were a little. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like it was something that I don't think the viewers heard. So last week we were having an issue with leave and cleave was the subject.
Mm-hmm. And we weren't having an issue.
You were having an issue.
No, listen. Someone on my Instagram brought it up.
All right, so you're blame shifting.
Yes.
So she had an issue. We found out with leave and cleave, and we got into this kind of like a frustrating situation. And we found ourselves over like a friend of ours' house, our mentor couple. We found ourselves over their house and we got into it. No, we didn't actually get into it. We actually found resolution there by just bringing it up to them. And so they kind of helped us talk through a little bit of it. And what was the solution? What did we come out with, babe?
My bottom line was when what are you looking at, my boobs?
No, your mic, always the same thing. You always have these low-hanging shirts.
Glen, it's not funny.
Okay, but this thing is like all the shirts hang low and the mic hangs low. Okay, so picking up from last week, what did we learn, babe? What was the solution? Are we going to Tennessee or not?
We are not going to Tennessee.
Why?
Because Because I'm always nervous when he asks me things like this, like clarifying questions, like why? Because then I feel like I'm about to answer it wrong on the test, and I'm a good test taker, so I don't like to get the questions wrong. But anyway, the bottom line...
I don't have that much authority about it, but go ahead.
The bottom line when it comes to leaving and cleaving is doing what's best for your nuclear family, right?
Yeah,
Is that the right
immediate
word? Your
family.
immediate family, like, so for us, the core. And so going to Tennessee right now would be us putting expenses towards something that when we could be putting those expenses toward another thing. And it also would cause Glen anxiety and a loss of momentum. And so we want to value that because he is the sole provider of our home.
Yeah.
And so we just have to make sure that we take care of home base first.
Yeah,
home plate.
and the language that he used, Pat and Shan, what they used was, you know, like, do I not value family, or do I value us more? You know, and so that was kind of one of the things we had to think about, and I felt like I wasn't really communicating to her, and I feel like she kind of gets it now, a little bit at least. And, you know, I just have to, you know, keep my promises. So next time we say, hey, we're going to go somewhere and I agree, then we're going, you know? Yeah. We are super excited about How Married Are You? The podcast is, I feel like it's touching a lot of people. I've had people walk up to me and say, yo, I love your podcast. And I'm low-key offended because, you know, Belief in Fatherhood is like the main thing. And I've been really busting my butt with that for years. And for people to come and be like, yo, the podcast though, I'm kind of like, yo, don't disrespect the YouTube channel. But they're not disrespecting, they're just saying how much they love it. So I'm sensitive.
Go ahead.
I'm sensitive. So anyway, but the YouTube channel, I mean, the podcast has been getting a lot of love. We've put out 6 episodes. We're right around 3,000 listeners per episode, which is pretty big, I feel. And we have about almost, I think, 200 iTunes reviews, which is awesome. So if you have not reviewed How Married Are You, please go do that right now, okay? Leave a review on iTunes or on Google. And if you can, if you're listening on Anchor, and even if you're not listening on Anchor, download the Anchor app and leave us a voice memo of your iTunes review, or just tell us how much you love and appreciate the podcast. We're going to do that right now. We're going to listen to Words of Affirmation, which is our way of showing some love to the people who have left us voice messages on Anchor.
What up, this is Jay Ruckers, and you're listening to How Married Are You? And these are Words of Affirmation.
Glen and Yvette, how married are you? This is D1 Legacy. I just had to call in and let you guys know I really appreciate the podcast you guys are doing together. You guys had such a rhythm and a connection with each other, and you are touching on so many different topics when in regards to relationships and marriages that can really relate to a lot of people. So just wanted to call you up and tell you that I was listening to your last episode, and I was captivated. I listened to you guys all day because, like I said, you guys really have such a way about you that is so down to earth. You know, you have your ups and your downs, but you guys are just, you know, it's just the way you're relating to people and just dealing with everyday life and being together, learning to love each other and continue to build. So just wanted to chime out to you and say I appreciate what you guys are doing.
Wasn't that dope? That was awesome, right? D-Win Legacy, thank you so much for leaving that voice memo. He's a podcaster on Anchor, just like us. So he heard of us and he wanted to show us some love. So we definitely appreciate that. If you want to leave us a message, it's so easy. All you have to do is click the little message part right on Anchor and just leave a message, leave a voicemail. But listen, make sure that you're not doing it while you're driving in the car with the windows down. You know what I'm saying? Because like sometimes we can't hear stuff, you know.
But if that's what you need to do it, just do it.
You can do it that way too, but then
if there's children screaming in the background, just do it.
No, you're not editing the audio, so you don't have to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? So just try to make sure it's quiet.
I'm just
do it when you're on the toilet. All right. Anyway.
I'm just trying to say, I know how it is. You don't always get quiet. We're celebrating our wedding anniversary today, and it's been 8 years.
Yes, 8 years we're married. Doesn't feel like 8.
It doesn't. It feels like a lot has happened in 8 years.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like 8 years.
Yeah.
When I think of like, oh, you know, I think of 4 years of high school and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is forever. Or 8 years of college. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But then I think of 8 years being married and I'm like, that wasn't 8 years. You know, but if the way our kids set up,
It's
8 years.
Oh my goodness.
But I am glad I get to do life with you.
Me too, babe. You're my favorite.
You're my favorite.
Did you guys hear the pause?
Yeah.
It was a thought.
It's more than that. It's like, it's not about favorite. It's like, it's not about you being my favorite. It's like there being no one else. Like there is no one to compare you to for like, so favorite. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's hard to say you're my favorite because it's kind of like, who else is there?
You're just so deep.
And today's podcast topic is all about what it was like marrying a virgin. And actually, one, maintaining abstinence. And then marrying a virgin. Now, when we brought this conversation up and I was like, yo, we should ask some people who follow us on Instagram what their thoughts are. Is it realistic to be abstinent in 2018? Got a lot of responses. Some people was like, well, the word of God don't change. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, totally understand that. But then I was like, do we really all follow the word of God, like completely? Or do we just follow it as far as sex is concerned? You know, we did a poll. And the poll turned out to be like super, like, it was a lot of people who actually said that.
I was actually surprised. So before we go there, I was surprised because when I asked the question, I kind of like, whenever I ask a question that's a poll, I kind of already have an expectation of what the results will be. And so the question itself was, is the expectation of abstinence in 2018 realistic? And I don't know how people were interpreting the question because I feel like there were different interpretations to the question.
Yeah.
But my question when I asked it was like, I was actually asking, is it realistic to expect your partner to be a virgin? But you were saying, is it realistic to practice abstinence in a dating relationship?
Yeah.
So I'm curious how people were interpreting the question. But when I was thinking of it as, is it realistic to find a virgin to be in a relationship with, my expectation was people would be like, not at all. Like, if one person in a relationship wants to be abstinent, then I think that it would be easier. Then at least one of them has to be wanting it strongly. Anyway, what was your thought when you asked the question?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be, is it realistic to want someone to be abstinent? Like, is that fair? And the whole reason is because I remember before Tyrese went crazy, okay? So Tyrese was on The Breakfast Club. He was on...
Gibson?
Yeah, Tyrese Gibson, the singer and actor. You may don't know that he went insane.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, in the past 2 years, he went insane. But before that, he had a show with Rev Run, and he was like talking about like how, you know, you should not demand that a man does not have sex with you. Like, it's rude. And he was saying like, there's no way that I'm gonna marry someone without at least testing and see if their your vagina is good. Like, that was what he was saying. You know what I mean? And I just, for me, like, I don't like to really judge people, and I know everybody's going through their process and every man is different. So I'm very big on, like, I don't call people deadbeat dads a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't tell somebody that they're horrible for cheating or anything like that, because I know we're all susceptible of doing anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, Martin Luther King did it. Like, what makes me any special, anything better? You know what I'm saying? But I just realized, you know what I'm saying, that there are real vices out there. So I'm not big on calling people or whatever, but I was really upset with this guy because I'm like, yo, this dude is like just making it okay for women to, like, I mean, not for women, but for women to be viewed as like prudes for valuing their sexuality. You know what I'm saying? Or like wanting to hold it as something valuable. And not to say that women who give it away or like, or who are more promiscuous or whatever are like, you know, sluts. Like, I don't think that, but I'm just saying, like, for women who don't want to do that, like, why would you shame someone for that? And so when I was dating, it was already something, because I was like I love God, right? And I knew that when the scriptures talk about, like, you know, when a man commits sexual immorality, he sins against himself. And you know what I'm saying? Like, he sins against himself, really. And so you won't find anywhere in the Bible that says, you know, don't fornicate, right? but it'll say don't be sexually immoral, and that is what fornication is. You know what I mean? And so at least I can't remember anywhere in the Bible that says don't fornicate. But I think it was interesting coming into our relationship, and that was all like, you didn't have to be like, now listen, I'm a virgin, so don't try to have sex with me.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like we talked about it. It just was like,
duh.
Yeah, it was like common sense. Like, yo, these are the standards that I have as a person.
Yeah, how did you even find out I was a virgin? I don't remember explicitly saying I'm a virgin.
I may have found out like in premarital.
Really?
Was it that late?
I don't know if it was that late. Interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, me neither. But it just wasn't something that mattered, right? Because I don't feel like sex is one of those things where it's kind of like, I don't know. It just feels like something that you practice and get good at.
You don't feel like it's something you practice?
No, I think it is something you practice and get good at. I don't think it's something that's like, well, I have to see if you're good enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But how did you feel marrying someone who wasn't a virgin?
I don't think it was ever like I don't think it was an expectation of mine that I would marry a virgin, because I grew up in a culture of people that were so, active and doing stuff. And so it would have been...
You don't have to...
Oh, okay. Sometimes I start talking and I'm like, oh, shoot, I already started.
Am I going to hurt your feelings?
It would have been nice to marry a virgin, I think, because of all the stuff that we had to deal with when we first got married. Like, my mind was playing tricks on me about, like, his experiences with other people and if they were better, and is he thinking about them when we're intimate, or would he rather be with one of them than me because I suck and I don't know what I'm doing? Or there was just a lot of mind games going on during that time. So I think marrying a virgin would have been, it would have been a little bit easier. It would have been less stressful. We both would have been figuring it out together. But I don't know. What was your question? Did I answer it?
No, I just wanted to know your thoughts on marrying someone who wasn't a virgin.
Yeah, it was hard.
What was your expectation versus your experience?
My expectation versus
like, did you feel like I would be more patient?
I felt like you were extremely patient. I actually had higher expectations of myself. Like, before we were married, I was kind of horny. Like, I just, just wanted him. And so I thought when it came time, I would be like, yeah, let's do this. But then it came time and I was like...
Can we talk about wedding night?
Yes.
Okay. So wedding night. Do you want to explain it?
Sure. So wedding night, like when we're taking our pictures, I even was looking at pictures like this past week of like us taking the bride and groom formal pictures. And I remember during that time Glen would like whisper stupid stuff in my ear to like make me laugh about what was going to happen like that night. And so anyway, we get to the hotel room and we get ready and I just can't, y'all. Like, I just couldn't. My body like tensed up. It just was not happening, and it couldn't happen, and I didn't want to force it. And so Glen and I ended up ordering burgers and sitting in bed eating burgers.
That was her perspective, and so my perspective was much different.
Oh, what was your perspective?
I was like,
oh yeah, he's like, I've been waiting 5 years for this.
Yeah,
because you had been abstinent for 5 years at that point, right?
Yeah. So I was confused because Yvette had seemed so like curious, and I didn't know you were a virgin, because I was like, man, she can't be a virgin. No way. Because you were so like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so like touchy,
wanting to kiss.
Yeah. And it was like, I was like, dang, like this girl like seems like she's like ready to jump my bones at any time. You know what I'm saying? So then when we get in the room, you like put a robe on and you were like,
did I put a robe on?
You put a robe on.
Not my blue robe though.
No, not you. It was like a hotel robe.
Oh, okay.
And you were like covered up, and I think you had lingerie on underneath.
Yes.
and you didn't. The thing was, you didn't know how.
Yeah.
And
so that was the problem too, is I had romanticized this idea of what it would be like because of what I had seen in the movies. You know, like in the movies, it's all natural. Like I grew up thinking, oh, when I get married, like we're going to just be in the kitchen cooking and he's going to be doing whatever. And then we're just going to get it on the kitchen sink. And like,
well, I mean, if I knew that was an option, we would have been having sex in the kitchen for sure.
Anyway, that's what I was thinking, like that type of stuff. I had like this whole idea that it was natural and it just kind of happened.
It does.
And it does.
Yeah.
But at that point in our marriage, I didn't,
we were married for like 6 hours. And so we get there and I'm so confused and I'm like, yo, like she won't let me touch her. She's confused. She's like, I could tell like she's just like, and I'm just like, yo, like what is happening? So that night, she ends up telling me, confessing to me that she had no idea what sex is, like how to have it or what happens.
Really?
Yeah. And you had to call your mom.
I called my mom to complain.
Yeah. And she didn't have, like, no one ever gave it a sex talk her entire, and I feel like this is an epidemic in church culture where we want our children not to have sex so bad that we guilt and like make them feel shame for even thinking about it. You know what I'm saying? And being curious. And for me, I was like, man, this is going to be a long road. And it was. It was a hard time. And so, yeah.
Yeah, it was a long road. Long road.
Yeah, long road. So like I'd say 6 years.
Yes.
Yeah. 6 years. Because it was like, I don't know, like even when we try to talk about sex, it would just be like, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. It was just something I didn't grow up talking about. And I think, like, I so want that to be, and I don't, like, fault my parents at all for it, because I realize, like, for, especially thinking about my mom, she is still so innocent. She is so innocent. Like, I have conversations with her, and the other day I was teasing her because of something she said, and I was like, Mom, you're just so innocent. And I am the same way. Like, I am the same way. So she can't talk to me about something that hasn't been talked to her about necessarily. Or maybe she can, because I hope to do that with Anaya and the boys. But I don't know. It just seems like it wasn't something that she was equipped to talk with me about. And so I didn't have that conversation. And the extent of my dad's conversation was keep your legs closed type thing. My mom didn't really say anything. And I don't fault them at all for that. But I do think that as a culture, like as a culture of believers, that we need to do a better job talking to young people about that. Like, we don't need to put the fear of God in them. We need to educate them about what the importance of sex in marriage and the gift that it is from the Lord. Like, it's not just so that we can procreate. It's so that we can also, like, have a connection with our spouse that we don't have with any other person in the world. And so, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, it took me a long time to even be able to talk about it. Thank God for good friends.
And so this is like, for me, like, your expectation was super high, right? From your parents, like, yo, nope, right? My parents, like my dad, I don't even think my dad really talked to me about it. My mom would tell me about it, but she was like, it was like, yeah, don't do it, but if you go and do it, wear a condom. You know what I'm saying? So like the expectations were very low for me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think she actually believed herself when she said don't do it.
We should link, I have a blog post that I wrote about.
Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes.
Yeah.
So we'll put that in the notes. But yeah, like the expectations were very low. And I do feel like there is positive, like even there's positivity now. You know what I mean? But it took a lot of like bravery on your part and like a lot of patience on my part. But I don't feel like I was actually that patient that first night. Like, I was more upset. I felt like,
By day 3, we didn't have sex until day 3 of our honeymoon.
yeah.
Well, like, it was our wedding day, then the next day. So the third day of being husband and wife, we had sex.
Yeah, so this is the thing, though. Like,
But he coerced it.
oh God, yeah, it felt bad. So listen, so this is what I'm thinking, right? So where I'm from, like, what, not where I'm from, but how I grew up, like, I, as a man, was taught that men go after and try to coerce women to have sex. By, like, that's called game. Now, that's not right at all. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's manipulative. Now, as a saved person, like, I've, like, put that away, and I've been looking forward to this day. And then I had to do the same thing to you. So even in my marriage, I felt like I had to coerce you and, like, trick you into having sex. And that made me feel like, oh, well, almost as guilty as you felt.
I don't think it was tricking me. You just...
But it didn't feel right. It didn't feel like love or like patient, long-suffering kindness. It felt like, nah, this is supposed to happen. Like, I know, like, if I felt entitled, and
it did feel like that for me too. It felt like something that I was supposed to do, not something that I desired to do.
yeah, and and I didn't understand that. That was hard. That was super hard. Now, with that being said, it's like, how do you now tell people, like, oh, yeah, you should wait?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, the truth is, like, you know, waiting to have sex, what's the real benefit?
I don't understand. What do you
So
mean?
I'm saying like this. Now, what we didn't do, what I feel like it was super healthy about us, is that we had no, like, we weren't blind. Like, that's how I could say, yo, if this isn't working, I'm cool. Because I didn't have any, like, soul tie to you. You know what I mean? Like, there wasn't, it was really, it made common sense for us to be together. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, oh,
They make me feel good. in the
right,
bed.
they make me feel good in this way, and I don't know where I'm going to get this type of affection from, or, you know, I was trying to get something out of you. You know what I mean? And so what I kept telling myself was, like, I know that this will get better, and this is all about an investment, you know? And I didn't know when it was going to happen, but I was just like, whatever, eventually this will be better. The cool thing, though, is that we didn't have a lot of the stressors that other people have, where we feel like addicted to each other, or like our lives will be over if we didn't, you know. I was committed to you before the sex. So even though the sex wasn't something we both desired, you know what I'm saying? We were still committed to each other beyond that. And I think that makes our relationship way stronger. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Self-control is a big thing.
Yeah.
And even when we were abstinent before getting married, you know, like, you know, the fact that we waited showed self-control on both of our parts, I feel, you know.
The question was, is the expectation of abstinence in 2018 realistic? 73% of people polled said yes, and 27% said not at all. So yes, it's realistic was the most common answer. That was over 1,000 people that participated in that survey. Okay, so this is actually interesting, because this person said, guys have ghosted me once I told them I'm waiting, and girls at a Christian university told me good luck, which is interesting. This girl said, I haven't found any males who are waiting. If you know of any, send them my way. This person said, realistic because a vision with true discipline transcends cultural norms. I've seen it. This person said, if they have a current relationship with Christ, it is or should be expected. This person said, millennials are more sexualized and advertised to than any generation before. This person said, I'm a realist, so no, not realistic. However, it should be. Maybe a very small percentage.
But why? Yeah, and so, like, I guess the importance of it, I feel like, is that it takes away all
The baggage?
No, it takes away all like the...
What takes away? What's the it?
Abstinence.
Okay, abstinence.
Like it takes away all of the feelings. Like, you know, you're liable to say anything while you're having sex. Like I done said some crazy things to you before.
Oh, I was about to say, why are
saying?
we talking about what you said?
No. Like when you're having sex, you can say anything. You know what I'm saying? You can feel anything. And while you're like that drunk, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just crazy. You know what I'm saying? And so you may want a baby in that instant, but then not want a baby. You know what I'm saying? Like you just never know. And I just feel like it's more self-control. Like I'm not committed to you because of anything that you give me. Right? Like it's everything that I get as a result of being with you, like who I am because of you type thing. Like I'm committed to the idea of you and I'm committed to you. You know what I mean? I'm not just committed to your body. You know what I mean? Like I'm committed to your mind, your growth, your heart, like every part of you, not just what you'll lend to me. You know what I mean? For a moment. And I think that's what, you know, we struggle with, you know what I'm saying? Like men and women, like we struggle with that when you think about it outside of that context. And it's like, I want this so bad, like I'm willing to do anything to get it. I'm willing to say anything to get it. And I'm willing to, you know, I don't know.
This person brings up a good point. He goes, 20s and 30s or 40s, it's just very unlikely at that point. I feel like you would have some sexual experience by then. He wrote 4 more because in the little things you can only comment so many characters. I don't know which one it starts. I think he says, definitely depends on how old you are. If you are serious with someone from high school or college, then definitely it's more realistic. But if you guys are already in the late 20s or 30s when you meet, it's much less likely, I feel, that y'all are still virgins. I also just am more of a principle guy than a legalistic one. Like, I'm not a virgin anymore. I'm 22, but I can still practice purity in my life and be pure to whoever I may marry in the future. I'm not saying it's impossible to be a virgin in your 20s, 30s, or 40s. It's just very unlikely at that point.
Yeah, and I feel like that's one thing too. Like, I was very legalistic, so I knew that. I thought if I had sex, then it would just be, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would be just going to hell and that's it. You know what I mean? And so for those people who are struggling, like wanting to remain pure or wanting to like be abstinent in a relationship, but it's hard, like, I totally understand that. You know what I mean? And I would hate for you to feel shame or guilt. You know what I mean? Because your heart and your desire is to do something, but you are having trouble controlling yourself. Like, I don't think that is a reason to give up on a relationship or whatever, but it does speak to the characteristics. I believe that if I couldn't lead you in our purity, I wouldn't have been able to lead you at all.
Yeah.
That's just me though. You know, because if you were just kind of like, yeah, like, if you could get me to do anything and I didn't hold firm to that, like,
it would have been unattractive.
Yeah. You'd have probably played along with it for a little bit, but eventually you'd have been like, man, I don't know if I trust your leadership. And so that's why I feel like it's interesting for men. Like, if I guess it can be the woman that's like, yo, I don't want to have sex and I think you should respect that. And you're like, okay, cool, I respect that. But to me, I feel like it's more attractive if a man, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, yo, like, these are my values and my principles and this is what I'm doing. And it's not because of who you are. It's because of who I serve. You know what I mean?
And that's what Glen would say. He's like, I'm not going to hell for nobody.
Yeah.
That's what you used to tell me.
And I was so confused because I was like, I just knew that you weren't a virgin. I was like, man, the way this girl is like she knows what she's doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were just very like, you knew right where to touch me.
And but I didn't. See, that's the thing too. Like, I didn't understand the anatomy of a man's body and how like it triggered. Like, Glen had to tell me, dude, like,
you can't touch me.
You can't touch me there, or you can't touch me like that. And it wasn't like I was trying to touch his penis. It was just, I don't know.
You're losing a lot of vocabulary words. You said horny and penis in this podcast.
Is that like
no? This is fine.
Explicit content.
It's fine to me. I'm just. Well, we're definitely not kids and family anymore. We were under the kids and family thing. Not anymore, though.
So it seems like the interesting thing is, it seems like on my followers that a lot of them are believers. And so that's interesting to me because I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know why it's interesting, but it is.
Yeah.
Because of the responses that we had, like, because God said so.
Yeah, and I think that's cute.
Oh, and this person goes, nah, fam, we grown.
Like, I feel like that's cute, yeah, because God says so, but God says so much, you know what I mean? And are you really about that in every aspect? And I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad for just like, yeah, because that's what God said and that's it. But I honestly feel like, yo, we have to think about like why we're doing some of the things we're doing. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't want you to be like, yeah, I married you because God said so. Like, I wanted to be more than that. You know what I mean? Like, there's practical reasons why I had to be abstinent. Like, I had to not have sex with you. You know, like I wanted to, for sure. But I definitely, like, it was something that I knew that was like, yo, if I have sex with this woman, I don't know. I just knew that it was going to hurt me. It was going to hurt me or you. And I wouldn't be able to lead you. And I think one of the books I read was, I forgot the name.
For men only?
Yeah, for men. No, it wasn't for men only or for women only. It was Emotional Purity. And then it was this other book. He wrote all these different books about like men and purity, like, it was a whole like line of them. I forget what it was called, but yeah, like,
he'll figure it out and put it in the notes.
All right, so the book I'm referring to is called Every Man's Battle and Every Young Man's Battle.
Yeah, but it was like, you know, like what happens when you give yourself away like that, and you know, it's just a lack of leadership. And so I'm actually glad that we didn't have sex.
Yeah.
And before marriage, and I'm even glad for like the hard years.
Me too. I mean, I'm not, but I am.
I feel like I should say that.
No, but I mean, like, I feel like now it's just better.
It's different.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you appreciate it.
I like so enjoy. I don't know what I'm just trying to say, but I feel like now, yeah, I appreciate it better.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little embarrassed.
Yeah.
I kind of want to change the topic now.
Yeah. So, do you want to prescribe the book that helped you, that your friend gave you?
The book that I read was called Moregasms, and the reason it wasn't by a Christian author, so I'm not saying that I agree with everything that was in the book. So that's why I really didn't want to say the title of it. But what it did help is, like, some nights I was just sitting in bed reading it, and then I would start to have conversations with Glen about stuff. And that was one of the things that we just had a hard time. Like, I had a hard time.
Yeah, I didn't have a hard time.
I couldn't communicate. I couldn't talk. It was embarrassing. It was uncomfortable. It was like, yikes. Why are we talking about this? I don't want to talk about it. Let's just turn off the lights, do what we do, and not talk about it any other time. But that book allowed us to start to have dialogue about it. It also helped me to understand my body and different parts of my body that I didn't really even know existed, to be honest with you. And so it was a good book for me to read.
Yeah, it was freeing.
Yeah.
I think that's a good post-marriage book.
Yeah, I honestly would love to give it as a bridal shower gift to virgin brides, or to any bride, really.
It's just a good book.
It's a good book.
And it's like freeing, you know. And so I wish on our wedding night that I was more patient with you, and I was more, because like I didn't realize that I had the rest of our lives. I was just thinking about what I like.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, I just wore a suit, and I had my mom come out, and I had this happen, and this, and this. Like, I did, like, it was a lot of...
I did all these things. I deserved this.
Yeah.
Like, you gonna put out.
Those are my words. But it was very much like, yo, like, I feel like you... Owe me. It wasn't like, though. It was like, you... I don't know. But I felt like... But I'm also like a pleaser, so I wanted...
Oh my gosh, he is.
Yeah. Shut up. I wanted like you to enjoy yourself.
that's
So
all
it
I
wasn't like
did.
I wasn't trying to take anything from you. I was trying
know.
to give you something, but you wouldn't let me give it to you.
Yeah, that's all I was saying.
Yeah, you are.
You're the one that wanted to talk about this. I didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Anyway. So, what was I about to say? I was going to say, so if you could go back, you kind of have alluded to it a little bit, but if you could go back, because I know there are a lot of people, even there might be some women who did not remain abstinent before marriage, but they're married a virgin. Like, if you could go back, how would you approach the situation? How would you better prepare me for sex? And I don't know if that's necessarily your responsibility, but I'm just curious because there are going to be some people who are listening to this who are literally about to get married next month or something.
Or it could be like in the same
or
season.
Just right there dealing with it.
Sitting there like, don't touch me.
Yeah. How would you go, what would you say to the 25-year-old Glen David?
Yeah, so the 25-year-old me, I would say you have the rest of your life, be patient, relax. You're going to be fine. Mm-hmm. And then if I could just whisper something in the 25-year or 23-year-old Yvette's ear, I would say, how dare you? Confuse this man.
I didn't know what I was doing, y'all. It's hot.
No, I would say, I don't know.
You know what I would say to the 23-year-old Yvette? Like, I just wish that I was more aware of, I don't know. I would say do your research. I would say read the word for yourself. Know what it says about sex. Because I think a lot of that I was hearing from the church. I was hearing messages from the church, from things I was seeing on TV, from school, from not even from my peers, really. I was just hearing different things, and I didn't actually like dive into scripture myself to see exactly what it said about sex. Like, that's a topic that I was like, oh, you just don't do it, you know? And so I'd say do that, and I'd say really, like, do your research. And I don't know if there's like a safe period of time in which you should do that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you should do it like after you're engaged. Like, I wouldn't suggest anyone read Moregasms who's
trying to stay pure.
Yeah, because then they might be curious. Okay, like, wait, what?
Well,
is
that's
that?
still
Let me,
required.
like, go see about that thing.
Yeah. I don't know.
But I would definitely encourage myself to do a little bit more digging, in a healthy, appropriate way.
You know what?
I would definitely have talked to my mom.
You
or found somebody to talk to.
I think that's what it is. I think you probably need a woman mentoring you.
Yeah.
And helping you figure out those sort of things that you could just be like, because some people's moms is like, look, this is this and 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 this. You got any questions? All right, we'll come back when you got some questions. Like, some people like are super involved like that. But other people are kind of like, I don't know. But you have to have other women in your life, because and men for sure. So what my parents, I don't know if they realize is that, and this is what I'm realizing as a father, is that my kids are going to learn from somewhere. Mm-hmm. And either going to learn from me or someone else. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I'd rather be the main source of influence there, because I learned from peers.
Oh, and now you're calling me.
I learned from peers, and that jacked me up. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. Anyway, babe, how married are you?
I'm so married that I can see a juicy pimple ready to be popped, but I let you stop me from popping it. That's how married I am. That's a good one.
Okay. I'm so married that you keep making pot roast, and I keep tasting it. And year after year, it gets like I feel like it started here, and it needs to be here, but after 8 years, you're still about here. got a long way to go for this pot roast, okay? We still got leftover pot roast sitting at the bottom of the fridge. You threw it away. She told me she was gonna eat it. She doesn't eat leftovers.
I do eat leftovers. I just didn't eat those leftovers.
Yeah, you don't eat leftovers.
I did eat those as leftovers. Remember, we had it as leftovers one night. But it could have been like a whole week.
Yeah, so we had it, and then 5 days later, we had it as leftovers.
No, it was not 5 days.
4?
3.
But that second night.
I thought the longer it sat in the juices, it would get more tender.
See what I'm dealing with over here? All right, guys.
And that's just how married we are.